Now, wait a minute, Mudar, hang on just a minute here, because I want to go back here just a little bit. And folks, you're listening to Right Side Patriots on rspradio1.com with our special guest tonight, Mudar Zahran, the Secretary General of the Jordanian Opposition Coalition.
No, I just want to know if this is true from what I'm reading on some of the intel. What Iran is trying to do in Jordan is very sneaky. The king is going to allow Iranian Shiite religious pilgrims into the country. And Jordan is predominantly Sunni Muslim. So what he is trying to do in a way is start a war within Jordan between the Shiite and the Sunni.
Well, this is very disturbing because this is what the king did. First of all, the king has been aligned with Iran since 2004. And it's not because he's a rogue element. He is a rogue guy, but he was just doing what several U.S. administrations were doing. It's just common sense, you know. He follows where he goes, where America goes. And the U.S. administrations have been supporting Iran, except for Trump. So it's just natural. So he's not doing anything that would actually make either Bush Jr. or Obama or any of them frown. That's going to threaten the Saudi Arabia. That's going to threaten United Arab Emirates. And that's going to threaten Israel. And that could eventually lead to World War III. So this is playing with fire. I think turning a blind eye towards this is going to lead us all into disaster. And this is where my warnings have been consistent for years. This guy, Abdullah, is incompetent, indecent, and dishonest with all bad intentions there is.
Right.
And he's in bed with the Muslim Brotherhood, in bed with Iran, in bed with the Islamists. And the more he stays in power, and he's only in power because the United States allows him to be, the more he's in power, the more dangerous it is eventually for the average American. And let me just begin by reminding you of the following.
Right.
When the World Trade Center was hit the first time, I think in 1993, was it? Or 1992? I think 1993.
93.
93, when the World Trade Center was hit the first time, targeted the first time, all three who carried out the attack were Jordanians, and Ramzi Youssef, the mastermind, was the son of a Jordanian Army colonel.
Okay.
The guy who established ISIS, his name is Al-Qaeda in Iraq and ISIS. His name is Abu Musab al-Zarqawi. He was a Jordanian who was actually pardoned from jail, unexplainably pardoned from jail by the king himself. He was serving jail time in Jordan. He was pardoned from jail and took an airplane and left to Afghanistan, then suddenly surfaced in Iraq, killing American soldiers and Iraqi civilians. And he killed so many Muslims because, according to Al-Qaeda and Islamists, being just a religious Muslim is not good enough. You get killed too.
Right.
So, and I can go on and on. Mr. Al-Majali, very few people realize Mr. Al-Majali was Osama bin Laden's key escort or advisor, was a Jordanian who still lives in Jordan. And maybe I've mentioned this story before, but when I was in my teens, late teens, maybe 19, 20, I probably mentioned this story in your show before. We were in Amman, and I saw this very tall guy wearing a very strange turban, and he was driving a Chevrolet Caprice with, this is back in 92, 93. He was driving a Chevrolet Caprice, and he was, it had Saudi license plates. Again, this is in Jordan, 1993. And I see this very peculiar looking guy. And I kept seeing him back and forth. And it's in our neighborhood, which is where my parents live, a very affluent neighborhood. And a few years after, this guy was in television. And guess who he was? Osama bin Laden.
Osama bin Laden.
Now,
Osama bin Laden was a frequent visitor to Amman, Jordan. And the person who educated him is Sheikh Abdullah Azzam. He's a Jordanian who was also very close to the Jordanian government. And the Mr. Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, the Caliph of ISIS who got killed during Trump's administration.
Right.
Mr. al-Baghdadi is a Hashemite, belongs to the Hashemite family from which the king's family is. And I can give you at least, off the top of my head, another 10 different examples, which shows you that it all connects to Jordan. Jordan is a key source of the operations of the Muslim Brotherhood. And let's just mention what the king did lately.
right.
Yeah.
Now,